Today, we're going to talk about how we can use the power bucket and the attention bucket to help our children meet their needs. Raising great kids is a privilege and a responsibility. Sometimes our children can't see their own greatness. Sometimes we can't. Other times we can see their greatness but struggle to step up because of our own challenges. We will be discussing the brain science, tools and techniques that help us raise great kids. So last time we learned that power and attention are not psychological needs for children, but they are tools that can be very effective, which is why they're talked about a lot out there. So let's take a look a little closer, and we'll go ahead and start with the attention bucket, right? Every day, if we give our children some attention, then that supposedly helps them. And I say supposedly because it can, absolutely, but it doesn't always. So let's take a look at the needs that giving our children attention can help them with. And I'll just say this one from the beginning. Certainty or that safety, that control, all of those things are in all other aspects. All other needs kind of have a piece of that in there. So when we give attention to our children, right, it can provide that certainty as in that safety. This is a safe place to go. Okay, so that's one way it can meet our needs. But think about it. When people hang out with you and they give you attention, how does that feel for you? Whether it's a spouse or thinking of when you were a child, and how your parents did for you, or even as an adult hanging out with friends. Yeah, so it can give us that feeling of love. And again, slightly lower than that would then be connection. A settling for would be connection. So it can provide that, right? If we're hanging out with friends or if our children are hanging out with us, it can provide that feeling of, oh, here's someone who is spending time with me, and that shows that there's love, right? And this can be an external way when we need our parents to hang out with us, like they have to hang out with us for us to meet the psychological need, then we're meeting that need externally. And when our children are young, that's what they know. That's how they learn, is we show them how they can meet that need and we show it externally. But then the tricky part and the thing that we're not taught is then how to lead. Oh, see, this is a need. This is what it feels like. This is how it can be met. But then moving that to our child being able to meet that themselves. And you're not going to expect your 2-year-old to do this or even your 5-year-old to do it. This is a process that as they grow and become, middle schoolers, high schoolers, into those teenage years, and then into your adulthood, that is a process of experiencing meeting our needs externally and then being able to experience meeting it internally and then being able to see the two and say, oh yeah, I do feel I do have all my needs met internally. I can do that. And when our children are able to do that, that's when the peer pressures, the craziness in the world, it doesn't affect them internally, right? They can live their life. Even though rough things happen or hard things happen, they can still be at peace and calm and be able to experience the feelings they want to feel when they learn that internally. So when we give our children attention, it's always part of that certainty, because that's in pretty much everything we do. That's such a basic one. But it can also, like I said, help with that love and connection. And when we're out doing things with our family or our friends or our spouse, right, that can also give us variety, or that uncertainty, depending on what we choose to do. And so it can meet these needs in different ways, depending on how we use the tool. It also is significant. If we feel people enjoy hanging out with us, um, then that can give us that sense of significance. Oh, I have something about me that's unique that they enjoy being with. And so then we really want to think, well, how can I feel significant in myself without needing other people to help me feel significant? And then how do I teach that to my child? So these are some of the questions I want you to really kind of think about. And we're not necessarily going to go into that part today. We could spend days talking on all of these things. But today, my goal is to get you to think. I want you to become aware, oh, I was just doing this with my child. My child responded this way. And as parents, we get the extra tricky part of, okay, what needs were I trying to meet? And often we'll meet our needs externally using our children. And then what were my needs were my children trying to meet? And how can I help them to meet that internally? And we'll find in relationships, especially, I won't say especially with our children, in all of our relationships, until we learn how to meet our needs internally, we're exchanging. Okay, I'll meet this need for you by saying XYZ. Oh, you're so beautiful. I'm so glad you're such an amazing person. If you give me this certainty of that you're going to behave and not cause me trouble, or I'll give you that certainty, you bring in the paycheck and I'll, tell you how great and wonderful you are, at whatever it is. And everybody's is different. So even though those are examples, if those are not your examples, please go ahead and look inward and say, well, how am I meeting my needs? Because when we understand ourselves, then that helps us to understand our children, because our children have been learning from us, even the things we didn't go out and purposefully and specifically teach them. Those are things that they've learned from us. So meeting needs through the tool of attention. So we talked about certainty, uncertainty, that love and connection, that significance, and hanging out with people, right? If we're giving attention, it can give the opportunity for growth and contribution. We can contribute to another person, and we can feel that growth in ourselves as we're hanging out with people, and we're open to learning from them and learning about ourselves in our interactions. That can give us that growth and significance too. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the tool of the power bucket. And so children really have very little control from the time they're infants, where they have no control. They're not able to do anything for themselves. And then their whole childhood, right, is learning to do things from themselves. That's why you get into, they say, what, two, they start saying, no, no, no. They learn that they have power, that they get to start making choices and things like that. Well, they've been making choices all along, but they're beginning to understand how that works a little bit more. And so that tool of power, or allowing our children to feel that they are in control of something. So often when we're filling that power bucket, one of the main ones, that's probably the biggest need it meets, is that need for control. That need for control, again, is that another word for that certainty. I have that control. I am certain of my ability to affect things, right? And so that is one of the biggest ones that comes with that power bucket. Oh, and it's not about giving in to our child so they can do anything they want. It's again about choices, and limited choices is still giving power. So if we need to go to school, then guess what? We get to go to school. That's on our schedule for today. School is not an option. We get to go to school today. We have that opportunity. But then we get to look at, well, are we going to, depending on where you live, are we going to take the car, or are we going to ride our bikes? Again, you have to look at choices in your situation. Are we going to have mom drive or dad drive? Are you going to take, a certain backpack or a different backpack? It depends on the situation and what's available. And this is where we get to get creative. So what choices can I give them with the schedule that we have and the things that are planned to be accomplished? And so we can really use our creativity and come up with some really fun things that can really help us build our relationship with our kids. Are we going to sing opera on the way to school today? Or are we going to use our monster voices to talk on the way to school? Or, whatever it is, when we use that creativity, when we're having fun, then our children are having fun. And when everybody's having fun, things go a lot smoother. And so filling that power bucket can do those things. And when we give them choices, they go, oh, mom trusts me. Mom or dad, my person who's giving me my choices. I say mom because that was my role, right? And teacher. Uh, then they have a certain belief around me in order to give me those choices. And this can play into significance as well. Ooh, mom believes I can come up with creative things, so I'm significant. And I learn that, I get this belief that I'm creative, or things along those lines. And so when we help our children to meet their needs, and again, we do meet them externally, but then our job is also to help them learn to meet it internally so we can let go of that external. And some of these things aren't like we'll never just stop ever saying anything uplifting or kind, because that just means we're trying to meet our child's need of significance by telling them, oh, you're so wonderful and beautiful, and things like that. And so learning how to say things in a way that doesn't define them into a box, or those and we've talked about it before, those overgeneralizations. Oh, you're just so awesome. Well, what is it about me that makes me awesome in your eyes? And so those are all things that we'll can continue to talk about as we go through this. But for today, we've learned that the power bucket and the attention bucket, that we, as we fill those, that it can help to meet some of our children's needs. And when they feel what it looks like to have those needs met externally, because that's how we start, then we can begin to teach them how to meet it internally. Okay, so again, notice how you use the power bucket and how you use the attention bucket, and how that either helps your child, uh, and notice how you use them to fill your own power and attention bucket. And I will see you in our next episode. Hi friends, Cynthia Armstrong here. Thanks for joining us today. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you can see when new videos come out, and like this one. It is such a responsibility and a challenge to raise great kids, and we are here to help you along that journey to make it as enjoyable and fun and fulfilling as possible. Please check out our website, www.raisinggreatkids.net, and I will leave that in the description below.